When it comes to writing a literature review for a PhD thesis, there are several key steps that must be followed in order to ensure a thorough and well-researched piece of work. The literature review is a critical component of any thesis, as it provides the context and background for the research being conducted. It is essential that the literature review is comprehensive, well-organized, and clearly written in order to demonstrate the depth of knowledge and understanding of the subject matter. The first step in writing a literature review is to identify the key themes and topics that will be covered in the review. This involves conducting a thorough search of the existing literature on the subject, including books, journal articles, and other relevant sources. It is important to be selective in choosing which sources to include in the review, focusing on those that are most relevant to the research being conducted. Once the key themes and topics have been identified, the next step is to organize the literature review into a coherent structure. This typically involves dividing the review into sections based on the different themes or topics that will be covered. Each section should begin with an introduction that provides an overview of the topic and explains its relevance to the research being conducted. The review should then proceed to discuss the key findings and arguments of each source, highlighting any important points or disagreements among the authors. In addition to organizing the literature review by theme, it is also important to critically evaluate the sources that are included in the review. This involves analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of each source, as well as considering the credibility and reliability of the information presented. It is important to be objective in evaluating the sources and to consider how each source contributes to the overall understanding of the topic. Finally, the literature review should conclude with a summary of the key findings and arguments that have been presented. This summary should highlight the main points that have emerged from the review and should also identify any gaps or areas for further research. It is important to be concise in the conclusion and to clearly state the implications of the literature review for the research being conducted. In conclusion, writing a literature review for a PhD thesis is a complex and challenging task that requires careful planning and organization. By following the key steps outlined above, it is possible to create a literature review that is thorough, well-organized, and clearly written, demonstrating a deep understanding of the subject matter and making a valuable contribution to the research being conducted.